guys, Dorothy here, and we're here today to finish up, well, not finish up, but to do the second part of our Suddenly Autumn altered file folder series. We started yesterday, and if you were with us yesterday, then you'll know we got our base file folder done, got our adhesive on both sides, and got it inked up. So today we're going to mat our main pages, do the cover, and add the pockets. So first things first, I had somebody message me, wanted to know, really what's the point in inking around the edges on things. And I know, a lot of us have done this, so I will show you slightly. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the edge there where you can really see the white along the edges right there. That's an uninked page, so you can really see if, and it's not just, sometimes you cut it crooked, sometimes it might be a little lopsided on the page. When you print it, your printer grabs it and prints it crooked, that type of thing, so you get that bright white edge. So here is the bright white edge also, but after it's inked all along this edge, and you'll see, you can just barely even tell it's there, it just sort of blends it in. So that's sort of what you use your ink for. So I wanted to make sure that I answered that. Also, obviously another person, this is our folder we're going to use today. So we have our center tabbed folder we're using today. This is uninked, nothing done to it. So it's just a plain manila folder. Here is the one that's inked. So you can see, the aging difference that it does. So we want to create that vintage feel to it. So inking around the edges also does that. So there's a basic explanation why. I did see that someone actually asked about doing a tutorial on, not a tutorial, but sort of a review on the different blenders, and I will try to get that up one day this week, as well as my homemade gesso recipe, because we will be using gesso today. So if you don't have any, just sort of hold off. The gesso gets added on after, so you can always go back and add it. So I'm going to be doing that one, as well as a homemade texture paste recipe that we're going to be using in the next tutorial that I'm doing. So now that we've did that, let me pull this out. This is our folder we're going to be using. We have to cut it in half. So we have our side that has our three little scored, almost like, little accordion thing that makes it bigger. So I have a swing line guillotine cutter, but you can use scissors, you can use any kind of paper trimmer. We're going to go in and we're going to cut just right to the right of where the fold line was for the middle of the folder. So we're just going to barely get to the side, and we're going to cut it there. Then you're going to slide your paper, and you want to go barely to the left and cut that the three little score lines off. So, I'll show you that one second. So, this was my file folder laid flat. Okay, and you can see here was where the fold was. This was where the fold was. So I cut just a teeny tiny bit, maybe an 1/8 of an inch. Just go by an 1/8 of an inch to off of this one, and then I cut this one just right along the edge. And then this piece you can keep for scrap, you can use it to decorate the cover, whatever you want to use it for. So I have two file folders now. The one with the smaller tab in the middle, we're going to set to the side for a minute. We're going to take this one, and you can see where they dip in at the corners. Let me make sure I'm on camera, where you can see where it dips in right there. We're going to cut that off even with that dip. So right there where the tip is. We're going to cut that off. So you're going to cut this whole section off. There's really no measurements here, and I mean, you could actually, at this point, if you're, making a different folder than this one, you could cut this down to any size that you want to. So, and again, there you have another tab you can use on the edge of one of your journals if you set it to the side. So we have this. Okay, so I am going to hit one page real fast. The page that has the bird and the tulip soap and the country house is what we're going to use for the cover of our journal inside. So what you want to do, and this is, you know, pretty simple. I'm just gonna take my glue adhesive. You can use double-sided adhesive. You can use our glitter glue. You can use Fabri-Tac. You can use Elmer's glue wall. I'm going to be doing sort of a review type of, you know, how they react to different situations eventually. You know, so I actually use art glitter glue a lot because I just really like the way that it holds. And I like the fact that with the little tip, you can go right along the edges. Besides going along the edges, it really, really makes your glue stretch longer. So, you know, you're not using as much, so you don't have as much warpage. It just, you know, really helps a lot. Now, what you could do is use a glue stick on your page. So, you know, you don't have to worry about it. You could use just a plain old glue stick, you know, dollar store or Walmart, whatever, wherever you get it. And I'm not going to be exactly accurate about lining this up because I'm actually going to trim it down because I don't want any of the manila folder to show. You could leave manila folder showing if you wanted to. I just personally don't want to. I had somebody ask me about this from one of my videos because you can buy the stopper toppers. I actually just made that myself. It's just beads on some of the elastic cording. So not a lot to it. And then I'm just going to put this in my trimmer, line it up, and I'm just going to cut my edges. And all that's going to do is create that nice even edge on my folder. And the only thing, sometimes it catches, the swing line does, and it really needs sharpened. So if you're going to sharpen it, you can just actually fold up some aluminum foil and cut the aluminum foil. You can do that with all of your punches. If you don't know that, some people don't realize that that's how you can sharpen it. And again, I'm just going to sort of line it up and trim it off. Well, it's even, it's just a little bit of the folder sticking out, and I don't like that. So, and, you know, if sometimes it doesn't like to do what it's supposed to do, because that's the way things work, especially if you're, you know, making a video. It's always going to work that way, so I'll just trim with my scissors. So, I've trimmed it up. I'm going to set that to the side. That's going to be our cover and backing for a journal inside, so you can ink around the edges. You could also sew around, what I was going to say, if you use a glue stick on your paper, you don't have to worry about as much, and then you can sew around the edging also. So that gives you an alternative. Okay, so that's done, that's out of the way. So we're going to move to our backing. And we're going to get all my little stuff out of the way. And set your pieces to the side because we're going to be able to use them. Actually, this one that's 1.5, and it should be right at 1.5. Yes, it is. The one that you have left over from trimming your folder out, that's about 1.5. You can actually trim it down to, we need 1.5 by 5.5. So, and you can set that to the side. We're going to use that for one of our pockets. So 1.5 by 5.5. And we'll be using that in a little bit. So I'll set that to the side. Again, I will put the measurements in the description box with a list. Okay, so all of our pockets that we're going to be using for the one is going to be 5.5. So let me double check. Yes. So we need to bring it to 5.5. So at 5.5, it's going to look like this. So this is going to be 5.5 by the length of the folder. Okay. Then we're actually going to trim. Let me double check my measurements here. We're actually going to trim this down to 6 inches from the tab. So you need to line the tab up at 6 inches and trim it off. So if for some reason when you were doing the other one, if you chose to put an outside edge so you don't have this 1.5 left over, there is a piece at the bottom that you can use, or you could just use that if you want to, because it measures at 2 inches. So I mean, technically you could use that if you wanted a bigger border. I just wanted the 1.5 because, yeah, that's the size that I wanted. So we're going to set these to the side. And we're going to move into our back section. Okay, and for our back section, we're actually going to cut this tab off right here. Well, no. Yes, we're going to cut this tab off. So you line it up, and just cut the tab off. And then we need this to be 5 3/4. So we're going to trim it down to 5 3/4 wide. Okay. Then we need 3 and 5 3/4. So we need to trim it to 3 inches. We're going to set that to the side. That's another pocket for the back. Then, let me double check this to make sure. Yes, this one's going to be not quite 4.5. Set that to the side. That other half is going to be our other pocket. So then we can put our trimmer to the side. Let me put my scraps over here. Okay, so we need to get our folder out. Okay, we have our folder, so let's put our bases down. We're going to do our front last because we're actually doing a sort of a layered base. So inside the front, we're going to use the trees, and we actually need you will need this cut to, let me see, basically 5 3/8, and this is actually 7 3/4. So you can use this as it is. You want to take it, oh, we need to go on the inside though. And you're going to take it to where you have about 1/4 inch at the top and the sides. Again, you can measure that if you want to. Some people are extremely anal about that. I personally am not, and I know that we're going to be covering this up with a pocket, so you know it's not going to matter. So we're going to put your adhesive on. And I wanted to apologize for part 1 video because I used the word like way too many times. So I think I was just trying to get focused, maybe a little nervous. So again, I'm going to take this up to about 1/4 inch and just glue it down. And mine is really uneven, but we're not going to be able to see that because it's going to be hidden. Okay, so on the front page, we're using, again, our little one that has a tab. And we're also going to use the 1 inch one. So, for the tab one, we need to ink it up. And this is just a cutoff of a folder I had, and I just sort of use it to catch the over ink. And then what I do is when I move it around as I'm inking it, and then when I get it completely covered, I get the folder completely covered. Then as I get it covered, I'll use it as backing for tags and whatnot. And technically you don't have to do the very bottom edge, because it's going to be under the pocket. However, I always do because I feel like it shows through if you don't. So we have that. Have our little 1 inch, and while we have our ink open and going, I'm going to go ahead and ink the other 2 pockets that we created up. And these I'm doing as straight pockets. I'm not doing any cutouts or anything in them. Although you could, you know, take your circle punch. I guess we could do it, so I could show you how to do it. Maybe we'll use the circle punch on the top one, but not on the bottom one. And again, it's something you can sort of do by hand. I'll do it by hand just so. Let me get the next one. And I just ink it up as we go. I'm sorry if my voice is a little scratchy. I try to do these tutorials and I don't want to drag them out really long because, you know, some people may only have, you know, 20 minutes or so to sit down. They may not have as much time. I know if you have kids and stuff like that, by the time you get them in bed, sometimes it takes a while. Let's see, what size do I want to use? I like that. So I'm just going to use a lid. This happens to be off of one of the little mini ball jars. I actually got those at Walmart if anybody's interested in them. They're great for, like, you know, paper clips, things like that. So, well, you know what, we'll just go ahead and do both of them. So all I do is I sort of line it up and I make sure where I'm doing it, I sort of mark, because you have to come back to it when we do the page. And you just, and like I said, you could do this with a punch. You know, you could do it with lots of different things. And again, you want, like I said, you want to make sure you mark it. Let's see, I have that one on that side, so let's do this one on this side. Try to line up. Sorry if my head gets in the way. There we go. And I put it to the side because you're going to need it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow will be for our video, but if you're doing it, just, you can also, you don't have to keep the lid. You can use the cutout that you did. You're just gonna cut it out. Again, if you had a circle punch, you could just use the circle punch. You could do a square. It doesn't have to be. These were sort of deep. I shouldn't have done them as deep as I did, but. And sometimes you may want to do them because you have like a certain piece of paper and you have like a really cute, like say baby or something like that, and you wanted to be able to cut around them. Excuse me. And usually if you use your blending ink, it goes around the edges. You don't even notice the pencil marks are there, but you can erase the pencil marks after you get done cutting if they show up too much. Okay, so there we go. We got that. So say we have our cutouts. So let's get back to here. Inking paper back. Okay, you're always gonna start with your back or your largest pocket in the back. Just gonna ink around the edges. Now you could do this either way, and you want to make sure that you sort of pay attention when you go to inking which way you want it. Like I know I wanted my tab to the left-hand side. So, you know, if you ink the other side, then you're actually going to get your tab to the other side. And I pull mine just a hair away. Or you can do it right up to the edge. I just sort of like having that distinct difference to show the layers. Oh. And then we'll go ahead and do the bottom one. You could wait, like if you're doing this all at once, you're like watching the videos and going through. You can actually wait and do this after you put this layer on, but this is so small that it's really simple to get the edge under there, so it's not too difficult. Whereas if like the pocket in the back is a lot larger, so it's a little bit harder, it's not so bad. You know, if you have like 3 inches, even a half page or less, that's not too bad. But when you have to go down the whole page, like if I had to put all these pockets on, then taken my paper and tried to put it in there, I would have had to cut this down, first of all, to be smaller. And then I would have had to work and work and work to get it down. So there's that one. Our inside page, we're using this one. And now see where this is going to interrupt with the tab up here, so I'm going to trim a little bit off the top. Let's see. Wing it here. So tear that little edge on the top. A little bit of a torn edge, which is pretty cute. Add some, and it's still within my thing. Let me ink it. And again, you'll learn on those of you journal for, you just wing it. And most of the time it comes out fine, or sometimes it comes out a lot better. I just sort of like having that ripped edge on the outside. And by doing that, now I can slide my little paper in there and it's going to fall under that tab. I'm actually going to take a little bit off the bottom too. Just lower it down a little bit, create more of a edge. I do have a tutorial for a tear ruler, which does a really jaggedy edge. It's already, you know, in my YouTube. I'll try to link it in the video. Okay. Yeah, see, I like that a lot more. I think it looks a lot better. Okay. And, you know, to each his own. Everybody likes things different. And, you know, there's a lot of things you could do different. This is more of a basic altered file folder. It's not, you know, a really extreme one. I did my 100 subscriber giveaway. And when I had my 100 subscriber giveaway, I did one in there. I had sewing and such in it. So, I mean, you can do a lot more or a lot less. You know, you sort of base that, you know, how you want it. So, there's that. So, we have this side done, and we're on the back. Okay. And on the back, we're going to start with the green. Now, this is going to be shorter because this is a taller page. Okay, the bottom does not matter because we're going to have our pocket across it. So, you know, you want your 1/4 inch to be up towards the top. This is easy, just glue it in. If you guys have a favorite glue or, you know, anything like that, you know, feel free to tag it in the comments, share, you know, because I know there are some beginners that maybe not know, you know, don't know, or, you know, like this is Art Glitter Glue. I really like it. I like Fabri-Tac if I'm going to do, well, I'll use Fabri-Tac on the front because I'm going to actually use some cheesecloth. And we'll talk about cheesecloth when we get there, or different alternatives. Okay, then we have our pockets. Again, you're going to start with the back, along the edges. I usually do about a 1/4 inch out. I know a lot of people don't, but I like to have a little bit of a And I'm actually going to pull this up. I know I have 1.5 inches, or the 3 inch at the bottom. So I'm actually going to pull it up probably about 2 inches, because I know that's going to be hidden. And that's going to create a longer pocket. Again, measure that. I did not measure the difference for the 1/4 inch, so I will adjust the measurements in the description box. So I'm going to take about 1/4 of an inch off there, which means instead of 5 3/4, it's going to be 5 1/2 too. So just plan on 5 1/2 for all your pockets. And you'll have that happen, and you just, you know, just go with the flow. A lot of people don't stress. You know, a lot of people, you know, they're new and you stress over, well, it's not, what if I do this wrong? Or you can't do it wrong. And if you do, there's lots of alternatives of covering it up. So, depending on how long this video is, we may have to do the front tomorrow, but I think we'll have time. I don't know. We're at 26 minutes. Yeah, we'll probably have to put on tomorrow. I'm trying to keep them under a 1/2 hour. But if we get the back and all the pages, this is all, you know, we pretty much have to go back and cover the pockets, do the front, and then it's making all the ephemera, which is, you know, pretty easy to do. I will show you when I get this finished. Okay, so there we have our pockets, all of our pockets on, and our back derm's done. 3 pages. We will do the cover tomorrow when we come back. I do want to show you when I printed out, I did do these 4 pages on cardstock because they're ephemera, so I want them to be a little heavier so they don't bend and break and, you know, rip and tear as we're putting them in and out of pockets. And for the front, you will need the little girl. She's 3 1/2. I cut it down from 3 1/2 to 6 1/2. I basically went, you know, top of the apple tree to the bucket. But you can do that whatever size you want to go on the front. That's just what I did. So we will work and finish the cover tomorrow. And I will talk a little bit about cheesecloth just to give you a heads up because you'll need it before we do the front. Cheesecloth is like this, but it normally comes and it's white. I don't have any white right sitting here with me. But this was coffee stained. If you want a coffee stain, all you do is use instant coffee or use your coffee using your coffee pot. You know, put a little extra grounds in there so it's really strong. And just take your cheesecloth, and you can buy cheesecloth at Walmart. You can buy it all over the place. You can buy it in the baking section. Sometimes you can buy it in sewing section. If you can't find it, you can use gauze. Like, you know, the regular gauze, the cheap gauze you buy at the Dollar Tree or at Walmart, you can use that. And then you're just going to take it, and like if you get a bowl, put your coffee in it, dip it completely down in the coffee, make sure everything's covered. I leave mine sit there for about 5 minutes, pull it out, wring the water out really, really good, and then hang it up to dry overnight or dry it with a blow dryer. You can pop it in the dryer. I try not to put, you know, anything that's dyed in my dryer. That's just me. Yeah, and that's all you have to do to turn it the gorgeous brown. So, that, you know, and it's different layers. So we will be using cheesecloth tomorrow. I will put descriptions, links, everything in the description box. Thanks for, you know, setting in for Suddenly Autumn file folder, altered file folder. The series. This is part 2, and we'll be back tomorrow with part 3. Have a great day. Happy crafting.